Welcome, welcome. I'm unable to see the participants. I think you guys are able to see the video and hopefully the presentation. Thank you all. Thank you so much for joining. And if you have, if you had a chance to fill out today's mentorship forms, if you want to share what high school you're going to, what grade you're in, any fields that you're interested in for college, and hopefully I can tie back some of the presentation to fit your college goals. And that's for everyone. Hopefully this is a little interactive for the first part, and we can save all of our deep dive Q&As at the end. Hey Faisal, how's it going?
I'm well, how are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for your leadership and getting us all organized.
Thank you.
Of course. I wanted to wish a happy and good afternoon to Omar, Ethan, Usha, Julie, Fabiha, Ariane, Emily, Anisha, Natasha. Great. I'm getting some messages. Whether you want to send them to me privately, that's fine. And if you want to send them to me publicly, that's fine too. I have a student of ours who is looking at some liberal arts colleges, some fantastic places for either the graphic arts or some great humanities programs, mostly in the Northeast. So for anyone who doesn't know too much about my college history myself, I'm a lifelong New Yorker. I'm grown up in Queens most of my life. I attended high school at Bronx Science, and throughout high school, my parents had sort of brainwashed me into forcing me to apply to Sophie Davis. And it wasn't just like, just apply. It's like, you have to get there or else. So as an immigrant kid, myself, a long time ago, I had that pressure. And one of our big goals at Cons is to allow all of you students to have more of that decision-making power yourselves and not be stuck doing something your parents want you to do. So we'll probably get started around 2:40. So the opening question for all of our participants, whether you want to send it to the public chat or privately, please tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me what colleges you're looking at or which field you're looking towards. I do have a couple of answers so far. So if you are waiting and you're already here, please start sharing which colleges you're looking at, concentrations or majors, and anything else in particular you'd like to get out of today. Yeah, I think typing would be the easiest way to keep us all connected early on. And then we'll be able to jump over to more specific questions towards the Q&A at the end. Thanks, Ethan. Thanks, Usha. Robotics engineering, rapidly developing field, a lot of fantastic engineering programs, all across the country, but with robotics becoming more and more recently blossoming, I'm sure there are engineering schools that have robotics specialty programs within themselves. So it's definitely worth looking towards. We have another student of ours, attendee. They know they want to do engineering, but they don't really know which schools. And again, engineering comes in all different sizes, shapes, and forms. Civil engineering, chemical engineering, mechanical engineering. And most of the time, top engineering schools are known for all their departments. However, there's always some cases where one particular school is really known for a subspecialty within engineering, or even computer engineering. I forgot that. Military careers, absolutely. There's lots of fantastic opportunities through the military, and we always want to keep an eye at what the trade-off is. We have Cornell as a target, one of the top, one of the Ivy League colleges. Really well known for engineering, pre-med, and even hospitality. That's one of the things that Cornell is really known for. Columbia College is a go for some of us here. Absolutely. I applied to Columbia when I was a high school senior. I got rejected because I did not know enough about Columbia's core curriculum, and I just wasn't aware enough about the institution. And I may have come close in the grades, but I did not know enough about them. So if you really have your heart set on a college, I'd always advise folks to do your own research, whether through Google, through friends, or their website, or in the past, we'd be able to do visits, but with COVID, there's a lot of changes this year. There's test optional, test blind. A lot of schools are doing things a little differently to accommodate the pandemic's circumstances. Law, aviation, or political science, two of them are kind of related to each other, and aviation isn't. And one of the cool things is that moving forward, you never want to dedicate all of your efforts into just one field. You want to make sure that that field that you're into has applicability across its neighboring fields. So if you're ever able to minor in something while majoring in something else, those combinations of something STEM and something humanities is what more and more graduate programs or employers are looking for. They want to look for people who have more than one skill set. BSD programs, going to pre-med major. I really like Brown's the most well-known combined medical program around in the country, in my opinion. And in New York, Sophie Davis gets a lot of that attention because of it's so New York City specific. I love it. I love it. We got West Point, Texas A&M. A college football fan by any chance? Ethan? See, so oftentimes, when we get to spend our Saturday afternoons watching a few football games, you get to see a different side of that campus, not just like the laboratories and the lecture halls and all the boring stuff. You get to see like how they unwind and how they compete and how they celebrate. So college is definitely a time where I'd urge all of you to consider, the social opportunities in college as well. We are 2 minutes away from the start of the presentation. Today's topic will be navigating financial aid and how to pay for college. Just a few ground rules. I'm really appreciative of conversation in the beginning and at the end. Today's topic will have lots of details, lots and lots of details. While we are not sharing this presentation as a downloadable file, there will be a recording of it. So at this time, if you want to take 2 minutes to grab a notebook and a pen, that would be really easy to help take as many notes as you can. I know we all have our phones and we can take screenshot after screenshot, but we'd really kindly request that you don't do that to allow us the flexibility to make this better when we finally publish the final version on our website and our portal and things like that are coming up. All right. Any questions before we get started with the presentation? Now's your chance to ask the questions ahead of time, and then we'll save the questions for the end.
Hi, Ivan. It's Nipa.
Hey, welcome. I want to introduce you to everyone. Hey, everyone, to all the students. I wanted to introduce you all to. We're just beginning the presentation, Mariam. So welcome. I wanted to introduce you all to our Chief Operating Officer at Conservatorial. Nipa has been a leader, Tasneem Khan has been a leader at Conservatorial for several years. Prior to becoming the Chief Operating Officer, Tasneem had led the High School Services Department. Tasneem is a graduate of Barnard College with a degree in computer science. worked in the software and computer science industry before going off to Columbia University for her degree in public health. As many of you know, she is my significant other. I'm really grateful to get a chance to work with her. Nipa, Tasneem, what's up?
Oh, thank you so much for that introduction. And hi, everyone. It's really nice to virtually see so many people here. And it's nice to meet you too. And I hope you leave from this presentation gaining a lot of knowledge. And please do ask a lot of questions because this is for your knowledge benefit. The reason, Yvonne, I had interrupted is because I was going to ask you if you can present your Google Drive, Google Slides so that it's a little bit bigger. That's all.
Absolutely. I'm going to jump on the presentation button as soon as I finish the intro, just because I won't have access to the chat function. So if I don't have any more questions, everyone, I will move over to the presentation format. And unless it's something really time specific, Nipa, feel free to jump in and say, hey, this comes to mind. And otherwise, you know, we'll give this our best shot. Take a lot of questions on the side. Not only do we have a lot of information here for you guys to jot down, but I'll have my notes from my course at Teachers College, at Columbia Teachers College. For anyone looking to go into education, I completed a course on college advising. So I'm really excited to share some of the things I've learned, especially around financial aid. So if it's all right with your permission, we'll get started. So financial aid in the US for college is becoming more and more mandatory for the vast majority of people. With college prices being so disproportionately different from what people actually pay out of pocket, every single student attending college in the United States should absolutely take the opportunities to fill out as many of these applications as possible wherever eligible. The first and foremost granddaddy of them all is the FAFSA, the free application for student aid. And oftentimes this includes all federal, state level. This is the one-stop shop for a lot of your applications for financial aid. There's also other services that do exist for other types of smaller financial needs. And just because I'm saying it's a smaller amount, that does not mean we're going to ignore it and sleep on it. Because if your price tag is $60,000 just to go to NYU, that's one of the top colleges that most New Yorkers apply to, like 60 grand. We're hoping that your out-of-pocket costs at the end of it are less than 10 or 15 per year. And even then, very few families have that money on the spot to give $10,000, $15,000 a year. So oftentimes that our loans and things like that will become very necessary, and that's what we're here to share with you all. If you have your parents around, I absolutely encourage you to bring them over, mainly because this particular topic today has more to do with them. When you're a 16, 17-year-old kid, you're not so aware of the family's finances and their ability to follow all this paperwork. So any opportunity to bring your parents into this, trust me, then us kids are. So tuition assistance programs, institutional documentation services, these are all comprised of the total financial aid that one student can get on their way to college and throughout the 4 years, hopefully. So what is the FAFSA? It's the free application for student aid. It's something that you should definitely become more and more familiar with early on. You don't want to save the FAFSA till the end. If you're a 10th grader, if you're a 9th grader, if you're an 11th grader, getting a good understanding of this now will hopefully remove any anxiety that you have around this topic. I know when it comes to paperwork, I become really freaked out, but the earlier I can really learn it, then I can say, hey, wait a minute, I can get that money. I can get that 5K. I can get that 10,000. I can get that free laptop. And all of those things are just waiting for you all. But they know that most teenagers, high school seniors and juniors, may be a little too scared or unfamiliar or sometimes just procrastinate and not apply for the scholarship. So we're here to make sure to remove all those anxieties and make sure to give you the confidence to apply. When should you complete the FAFSA? Earlier the better. Oftentimes the funds are being rolled out as it's coming in, so you don't want to be left out at the end and like the last person online, it's all dried up. So where can I complete this? Like everything, it's on the internet. It's government sponsored. Why should I complete it? Obviously, for eligible for financial aid and tuition assistance. Besides the private colleges, I know I only mentioned NYU. That doesn't mean if you end up going to a CUNY where we know that it's really strong for certain subjects, let's say Baruch is amazing for finance and accounting, and you know, okay, well, CUNY is a lot cheaper than private, I don't really need to apply for financial aid. Mistake. You never want to skip it. You always want to fill out the FAFSA no matter what colleges you want to end up going to. A quick introduction right here. Loans, grants, and scholarships are 3 words that you'll be hearing a lot. Loans are usually things that you have to pay back. Student loan, you hear a lot about in the news. Grants are things that will be given to you and you know, fulfill their requirements of the grant, you don't got to pay it back. Scholarships are very similar, where you aren't expected to pay it back, but you may be required to complete and you know, some requirements and meet some academic requirements to maintain your scholarship. So always remember, a lot of folks get their scholarships, but you got to read the fine print. You got to work hard to keep your 3.0 GPA to keep that scholarship. Next up, introduction to the FAFSA. I'll let you guys read through this. Basic information, like any website that you're registering to. What's your demographics? School selection, dependency status. That means are you a dependent on your parents, or are you living independently? And that's very, very rare. And again, more and more information on your parents, because this is an application solely based on earning and the ability to pay for college. And the 2 things they look at most is how much money is being brought into the home that's traceable through tax returns and W-2s, and also through the other section. The other item was the size of that household. So if you're a household where you're an only child, like I was, or like I am, you will have a different out-of-pocket expense compared to someone with 5 people. So if you have 5 people in the household that are dependents, you definitely want to list that, because the amount that you'll have to pay out of pocket will be different based on how you fill out the FAFSA. So it's something that you want to get ahead of time and start showing to your parents so you guys can have you know, the best information. Other basic stuff in the FAFSA, you have to share your social security number, date of birth, citizenship status, work, study, interest, home address, parent education, contact information. Back in the day, this was a very, very challenging thing, because this was before the DREAM Act, where children or students would come to this country as immigrants and couldn't get their paperwork on time would be left out of this. They'd be left out of a lot of these applications because they literally could not have a social security number by the time they were applying. Over time, that problem still exists, and you want to make sure to fill this all out accurately, honestly, and there are more and more programs available for undocumented kids. And absolutely look up DREAM Act, capital DREAM, DREAM, the word DREAM, and look for scholarships that cater to that specific population. School selection, just keep in mind that your FAFSA application will be counting towards 10 schools that you're applying to. So when you're applying to college, you're gonna have to think about 3 different categories. Top category is our reach category. Those are our dream schools. I'm like, I really would love to go to Columbia and make my family proud, or tell my friends that I made it, or I'm good enough for Columbia, or this medical program. And that may be your reach. Not everyone is gonna get into Columbia, even if you have grades that are, you know, good enough for Harvard. Even just because you got, you know, there are a lot of kids who get accepted to Harvard but get rejected from Columbia. So, you know, in our minds, we think, oh, Harvard's the best. But again, it's what each school is looking towards. So those can obviously be considered reaches. Your target schools is what is going to be the best match for you. Let's see what my grades were. I had like a 89 to 91 average at Bronx Science a long time ago at 5 or 6 APs. I had a 1400 something on my SATs, and I had tons and tons and tons of extracurricular activities. So based on that, hopefully your schools don't have too many big limits on the number of schools you can apply to, colleges. And wanted to just share that if you are going over the 10 mark, you got to, follow the directions to make sure your FAFSA is resubmitted for colleges number 11, 12, 13, 14. And the final one is the safety schools. Safety schools may be places where your academic profile, your personal academic profile is a little bit stronger than the average participant in that school or the average freshman class. However, there are a lot of advantages. Maybe they're giving you a lot of money, or maybe they have a particular program where they're going to be able to get you the master's degree completed in 5 years instead of the traditional 6. So you want to keep your eyes and options open for reaches, targets, and safeties. School selection, dependency status, we've spoken about it. Most will be dependent on your parents, so that's not something you have to worry about too much. Now let's think about our parents' demographics. Most of us have parents from different countries, and as New Yorkers, 80% of New Yorkers have parents who are born in different countries. So like that, I'm just throwing that number out there for high school kids, but the vast majority of high school kids had parents who are born in different countries. So never feel like, oh man, I'm from this country that no one knows about. No one's gonna know who I am, or no one's gonna really understand what my family culture is like. You don't have to worry so much about that, because these colleges get applications from New York City. They get applications from all over the country. Colleges in the US get applications from all over the world. So, never feel ashamed or any reason to misrepresent any of the information here for the parent demographics. So moving on to the bread and butter, the financial information. This is the part where your parents will have to be precise and accurate, and they have to use verifiable information. So there's 2 options. You got the end of year tax returns. Whenever your parents are working and they're getting their pay and they're the government's keeping a bunch of their taxes, at the end of the year, they fill out their tax returns in hopes that they get some money back for being such good citizens and paying your taxes all along the way. So keeping copies of year-to-year tax returns will be critical. We want to have, the FAFSA looks for at least 1 to 2 years of tax returns. And sometimes if that's not available, a W-2 is called a pay stub. It's like a receipt that your parents might be getting from their jobs. So a combination of those or one of those would help prove exactly how much money is coming into the house. If you update the section of the FAFSA, you must resubmit it for the schools you've applied to. These are some details on the logistics of filling out the FAFSA by now. By then you'll have, your parents will get a FAFSA ID, and this is something that I absolutely suggest starting early. Even though the FAFSA application deadline will be usually 1 month later than your college application deadline, and all we're worried about is college applications, college applications, college applications, remember that your financial aid application is on a rolling basis. You can drop this and submit this early in hope of collecting as much of that funds that are available before that all dries up. The CSS Profile. I'll go through this a little bit more slowly. The CSS Profile is another tool that enables colleges to have a preliminary understanding of your family's financial situation. So this comes in for merit scholarships. Remember, the FAFSA was determined by 2 things? That's need. FAFSA is really a need-based item. So FAFSA's, are you in a place where you can prove that you need financial aid? But the CSS Profile, it's more based on merit-based, so regardless of what parents make. So if you happen to be from a low-income family, but your grades and everything are really, really good, the CSS Profile and the FAFSA can both work well for you. But what if you are a middle-class family, an upper middle-class family, your parents make a little bit more money than, you know, great FAFSA generosity, you may be getting a bulk of your financial aid based on your grades, based on your merit scholarships. So again, the needed documents, proof of income through tax returns or the W-2 forms. And if there's any other extra income that's coming in, they want to see that. Current bank statements and mortgage information even. Wow, they get really, really involved to see what the costs of that family are. And even investments, if any families have a little bit of money in the stock market here and there. So clearly, we're talking about a different profile. CSS profile, they're talking about investments in stocks and people with mortgages. The CSS profile may be more appropriate for families with a little bit more household income, where you can max out how much you can get if the merit scholarships deem it eligible. Things that need to be answered, take a look through this. I won't go through the entire list. So again, they're looking at financial assets. They're looking at student income. They're looking at any special circumstances. This is all that they're looking for in the CSS. Again, remember we had those 4 bullets in the beginning. We're not going to leave anything out. We're going to try to apply to every single website that allows us to apply for financial aid. Next up, the TAP, the Tuition Assistance Program. This is a New York State-based financial aid award that's added on top of your federal student aid. So the first step towards completing the TAP is creating your, registering and getting your user ID and passwords and all that stuff. Again, social security number, date of birth, contact info, usual stuff. And the TAP is connected to the FAFSA application. So through the FAFSA application, they will already have that information ready. Now that the federal government, the country, has looked through a lot of the FAFSA federal eligibilities, the TAP scholarships start looking through on a state-to-state basis. So keep in mind, this is a really, really good way that a lot of folks get extra pocket money. I remember when I was at Sophie Davis, they had a Pell and TAP grants that they were giving out to every kid who got into Sophie Davis practically. And however long that these funds lasted, it really helped. When you're in college and you have to pay for your own food a lot more frequently, and bills add up, whether it's your food, your textbooks, or just an outing to go hang out with your friends and go to a restaurant or whatever you're into. The IDOC, this is only available to students in participating colleges. So again, the IDOC, you may not have heard about it too much because it's not used by every college as widely as some of the more well-known ones. Similar to the other applications, the IDOC is run by another entity. This time it's the College Board, those wonderful folks that create the SAT and all that stuff that drive our lives crazy and annoying.
Yvonne, may I interrupt for a second?
Please.
There's a question in the chat that I'm not really able to answer, and I think I know the answer to it, but I just wanted to double check with you. So in the chat, one of the fathers, Mohammed Sadek, asked, "We are here in a work visa, and my daughter will go to the university soon. Is she eligible for the FAFSA?"
That's on a case-by-case basis. I think if you have the permanent residency if the child has permanent residency, they are much more eligible. But without that, they may have to seek out some non-FAFSA avenues. But that's a great question, and we can look more into all of the resources that folks without the documentation may be eligible for.
Thank you.
Anytime. So gang, remember what I said before. There's loans, there's grants, and there's scholarships. Loans are those ugly gifts that you have to pay back. You have to pay it back, and not only then, you got to pay it back with even more so. So let's go through them. There's like 3 or 4 types of loans, and it's important that you understand the differences. I know it's a lot of information at once, and I don't want you to get overwhelmed. So let's start. Student loans come in many shapes and sizes, and the regulations for them can all be different. And there's several types of education loans for which you may be eligible. Stafford and Perkins loans are federal loans given directly to you, the student. Type of loan which is funded with government money. This is low interest rates. That's something good. You want to have a low interest rates. Interest rates is what's added to your actual. So if they save $50,000 per year is what we're going to lend you. We're going to charge you 2% every single, or 4% every single year, starting at X point or that point. Remember, it accumulates. All interest is cumulative. So you're going to end up paying a lot the longer you go on. But it also requires no credit check or collateral. It can be consolidated upon graduation. So we're going to go more into Stafford and Perkins loans in just a few slides. Plus loans, originally called parent loans for undergraduate students. They used to have a different name. They were created so parents could fund their child's education. And now parents may take out parent plus loans, and graduate students may use graduate plus loans. So this program has expanded to having a few different options for us. Some students may also be eligible for private loans or health professional loans. So just as a quick reference point, the average graduate in the country has about $28,000 of debt every single year, and that's average. So that includes community colleges or public colleges, state colleges, and private colleges. And that goes to show, if that's like 28,000 in debt, what if a lot of folks, that's the average? I wonder how high that number is for private colleges. So remember, loans look great when you see it. Oh my God, someone's gonna pay for my college. That's awesome. I can't wait to go to Barnard or Fordham or, this UPenn. I've always wanted to go there. But you gotta remember, loans are something you'll be having to pay back, and you always have to select very, very carefully. So there's different types of Stafford loans, subsidized versus unsubsidized. So take a look at these percents. The subsidized loan is the government pays your interest for you while you're in school, and they can be below 6.8%. And this is reserved for students and families with an annual income below 50,000. Unsubsidized loans are the flip side of it. You have to, you're responsible for paying it off while you're in school, and the fixed rate starts while you're in school. So if some of the numbers look, oh my God, 6.8, that's a higher percentage rate. 4.66, I want to take the 6.8. It doesn't always work out that way. You got to see when that clock starts and how much money you're going to be increasing in your debt year to year. Perkins loans, they're more desirable than Stafford loans because they have more stringent eligibility rules. So less and less people get the Perkin loans, and they're all subsidized. They have a fixed interest rate of 5%. And interest is accrued while you're in school and for a short period after you graduate. So they're a little bit more desirable. It's a little bit tougher to get. But again, nothing that's worth having is easy. So you want to put that work towards completing this application in a proper way. So again, because of the favorable terms, you have to show exceptional financial need for the Perkins loan. Again, government sponsored, and the government's already been had the responsibility for trying to save the economy through the pandemic. So these may have been how it went for years on end, and a lot of these may be tweaked in the next 1 to 2 years, depending on how well the economy can bounce back and how these programs can continue, depending on laws, who's in power, and all that politics stuff. All right, HEOP and CSTEP. The Higher Education Opportunity Program is based on income level. Again, you have to have a household income level lesser than 60,000. And oftentimes, the HEOP programs get a full ride to college. So you may have to participate in some work study. You may have to be doing some extra summer programs, and you may have to attend weekly seminars. But one of the flip sides of this HEOP program is that oftentimes the eligibility for HEOP, you have to have lower grades to be eligible for HEOP. So if you got 2 kids and you have the same application with the same household incomes, they're neighbors, but one of them has a 88, another person has a 93, Columbia University very well may take the person with the 88 because their grades reflect the lack of opportunity that their financial status may have led to. And you may think that's unfair. Shouldn't the kid who's working harder get a better chance at Columbia or whichever dream school of theirs? However, that's not how HEOP works. It's meant to be there for those whose academics could have been impacted badly due to lack of financial resources, for a better term. So this is something that's really been popular for immigrant communities like Bangladeshis, any of our neighbors who are new immigrants to New York City. Because if you're a new immigrant to New York City, like I was, all of us, start off, like any immigrant in an apartment in the outer boroughs usually. And if you're eligible and you meet that sweet spot, absolutely look for HEOP opportunities and see if you fit that profile. It may be a little difficult academically when you're there, but if you look, they have summer programs, work study, and weekly seminars. It's meant to foster some diversity and community in that school. Now, scholarships. Why, who, and when? I love the setup of this. So why do we want to do why do we encourage every single student to apply for scholarships? They can help pay for everything, like tuition, your dorm, your food, your books, maybe a laptop, maybe some technology. Scholarships come in all different sizes, shapes, and forms. Anyone who needs more money for college in any way in general. Some scholarships have the schools get it directly. So the school gets the scholarship money, and the school says, you don't have to pay that $5K on your tuition because your scholarship kicked in from the Kellogg company, whatever, whoever's given that scholarship out. When? All the time. Scholarships, you got to apply from junior year, sophomore year. You don't have to wait till senior year to look for scholarships. The number one reason why kids don't get scholarships. Nipa, any guesses on the number one reason why kids don't get scholarships? I can't see the chat, so I'll just wait a few minutes. If people want to put your guesses into the chat, number one reason why students don't get scholarships.
They don't apply?
Exactly. They don't apply. And why? What would stop us from applying for free money? My guess is 2 or 3 things. Fear. Oh, there's like 1,000 kids applying. They're not going to choose me. Well, guess what? You think it's 1,000 kids. Only 150 kids might be applying because everyone else got scared off because they have to ask for 3 essays, not just 2. But it's like, if you look at the dollar amount, $10,000 first prize, second prize, $5,000. And if you read the fine print, all 4 years. So wait a minute, I got to write 2 speeches or 2 personal statements or 2 essays, and I can be eligible for 40 grand. Because sometimes you'll see the 10,000 and you're like, it's not enough, whatever, or 5,000. Who cares about 5,000? The school costs 60,000. But if you look at it, that 5,000 could be every year, or they could say every semester, and it can really add up. So never succumb to fear and anxiety. Go for it and apply. And we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Yvonne, may I interject?
Please go ahead. You're being recorded though.
Yes, I know. There's just an important question in the chat again from Julie Basak. She asks, can a student apply for the Macaulay Honors Scholarship even though that student took a few college credit classes? How can you apply for this honors program as well, and what is required?
Fantastic question. There are a lot of teammates here who are Macaulay students themselves. To answer the first, because there's a few questions here, so I just want to say, even if you're receiving unless they say you're not allowed to, apply all the time. But I think with that question, because we have so many fantastic Macaulay leaders, rather than me wing it, I'd rather look it up and we can send that information back in an FAQ to everyone who's attended today. So any of the questions you were getting, we'll absolutely record them, find the best answers to them, and we'll definitely be able to send that out as an email in a PDF. Does that work?
Thank you, Yvonne. And may I ask one more question, because it seems to be a recurring issue or question?
Sure.
So international students, right? Are international students eligible for scholarships? For example, if they're from Bangladesh?
Well, here's the deal. I consider myself from Bangladesh, but I technically wasn't an international student. International students are students who've applied and completed high school in a different country, whether it's Bangladesh, whether it's Mexico, whether it's England, whether it's Australia or Canada. And when you come over, you can absolutely apply for private scholarships. But again, scholarships are different from FAFSA. If it's a person who's coming from a different country, they may not be fitting or be eligible for some of the government-sponsored financial support. However, private scholarships, depending on the requirements, different private scholarships have different criteria, but I have never heard of too many private scholarships with non-eligibility for international, but always read the fine print. And again, your parents may be from a different country, but if you're graduating high school from the United States, you are not considered an international student. You're considered domestic or American, no matter what our ethnicities or backgrounds are. Does that work?
Thank you.
Recurring theme? Absolutely. Let's get back to scholarships. Categories of scholarships. Well, they're granted for a bunch of different reasons, a myriad of reasons, all providing monetary aid. But what matters the most? Merit-based scholarships, again, I said, is it because you've just worked so hard and you're that hardworking and deserving based on your merit? Or is it because you just didn't have the lucky draw of being born into a well-off family? Most people are middle class or middle income or lower middle income. Most people in the world are low to middle income. So the need-based is definitely something that many people are eligible for. And also, there are a lot of students who are eligible for both merit and need. So if you happen to have the need while being excellent in a merit based way, you may open up more streams of financial support to come your way. All right, categories of scholarships. I mentioned the company Kellogg. That's a cereal. I just remember back in my day, there were like essay contests for that different types of private companies would try to create to show that, hey, we're really dedicated to education. Here at Kellogg, we want to make sure kids all go to fantastic careers in business and whatever. It can be writing based, awards based on essays, stories, and films. Notice that even though it's writing based, colleges are recognizing that not everyone's like a creative writer. So it could be more and more applications where it's a film that kids are, if you're really good at video editing, I'm sure there are some scholarships out there where your application is a video statement or a video production. Athletic/talent, this is what we see in the news a lot. Oh, my child plays track and field, runs track and field. Are they eligible for athletic talent or athletic scholarships? So if you are a underclassman, 9th grader, 10th grader, certain sports that top academic colleges look for, and I don't know particularly why, but crew, which is rowing, if your school has a fencing club and you're into it and you can become good, there are certain sports like lacrosse, rowing, or fencing that Ivy League colleges favor a little bit more. And if you're a traditional athlete, when some of the stuff that we see on TV, like women's volleyball, women's basketball, or men's swimming, or men's this, that's all counts as towards athletic scholarships. Other scholarships: first in the family to go to college, and legacy. Legacy is having an advantage of getting into college if one of your parents graduated from the same college. And usually it's, when you hear legacy, it's not just how long ago mom graduated from NYU and her son's gonna go to NYU now. Maybe it has to do a lot with how well the family donated to NYU's buildings and stuff like that. So legacy, it's not just who went there in the family, but it could be like, how much money did the family donate to the school? So if that doesn't sound like something that your family's been a part of, don't worry about it. Legacy, carries some weight, but it's not the biggest thing that they look at. Top, good places. Common requirements for financial aid, at least a decent GPA where you're college bound. If it's geared towards a particular field like STEM, or it's towards a certain field. I know the PSATs have the National Merit Scholarships with certain standardized test scores. And more commonly, it's really just taking the time to write something from yourself and just write, an essay. And of course, with all scholarships and applications, if it requires a letter of recommendation, you have to prove that at least 2 grown-ups in your life, teachers, mentors, coaches, the chaplain at the church or the masjid, anyone that's worked with you for a long time can recommend you to be a good member of society. So those are common things that's going to be showing up in the common application, which we'll talk about in week 3, as well as what they look for to pay for college. All right, money in a bucket. I'm sure all of us are happy to see that. So common requirements: satisfy certain financial eligibility requirements. And interviews. Interviews are something we'll also talk about in week 3. I mean, if you are the owner of a scholarship and your job is to give the scholarship to some kid for the next year, and you probably would want to make sure to get a chance to interview them to know they're not going to waste it and go crazy in college and just waste their money and waste that investment by that company. So oftentimes they want to make sure that people are mature and ready to handle the pressures of this responsibility from their financial support. Some resources. So there are a few great websites that are free, where as students, they're not-for-profit websites. You can get an account here, and it helps bring together your categorizing for which schools you're applying to, any other way to help filter out what you're looking for. And also, they're going to say, oh, hey, that school, try out these scholarships. So College Greenlight is something that we definitely recommend for all of our students at Cons to join on to. It's free for students, and it just makes the application process less dry and less boring. I think the interface, it's a lot more fun and it's a lot more like user-friendly than the government-based websites. All right, completing your profile. Welcome back, Evan. All right, this person with similar name spelling as mine. Completing your College Greenlight profile allows College Greenlight to give you scholarships. Basics, again, same stuff. What's your name, social security, what school, aspirations, and then preferences. Preferences are other things that are important to like any single one of us. Do you want to go to school in a big city like New York or Boston or Philadelphia or LA, Atlanta, Houston? Or do you want to go to a small rural town, a college in a rural town? Binghamton University, you know, it's a college town. There's not much there outside of Binghamton University. Wonderful residences, but that town's really known for the university. And some people may really look forward to that peace and quiet after growing up 4 years in, you know, in Queens, or if you're living across Elmhurst Hospital and it's really loud all the time and you need a little peace and quiet for your college experience, now's that time to get out a little bit. So completing your profile, we're talking about College Greenlight. There's academic information, personal information on your family and their finances. And again, this is where they really start getting to appreciate you as a human being, not just what are your grades in pre-calc? Did you do good in your Regents or not, well in your Regents or not? It's much more about fitting who you are as an individual. And as you grow up, you'll start seeing how much more important that is in life than just grades. The grades are some things, hoops and hurdles we all have to get through to prove ourselves. But as you get into college, you'll see you have a lot more freedom to choose your desired coursework. You can choose which classes at which times of the day work out for your sleep habits and your sleep preferences. So there's a lot of different ways that you can personalize your college experience. And you know, I think that's why we want all of you to go to a place that you feel most comfortable in without having to spend too much money.
Yvonne, I'm sorry to interrupt. There's another question in the chat. Can I ask you it?
We're almost at the end, Nipa, and we only have 8 minutes left. So if it's all right, I'm going to wrap up the presentation and then take this question with the others, because I think we're almost at the end.
For sure. Good luck.
Thank you. So colleges and scholarships. Adding colleges into your account will allow you to look at scholarships specific to that college. That's what the benefit of this website is. They connect. Oh, snap, you want to go to University of Chicago? And then they'll start matching it up to colleges to see what, you know, more and more information on how much or how little money your family will have to pay. All right. So as you see, the College Greenlight software generates matching scholarships. Oh my gosh. You mean you don't have to Google it over and over again and see what fits? They do it for you. And more scholarships, scholarships on scholarships on scholarships. So here it is. We have this for you all. National Association of Asian American Professionals. That's an organization that I've been a part of and supported in the past. They're very, very excited to support high achieving students. And I don't think any of these, you have to be Asian to receive it. They want to support any kid in their journey. SanDisk is a computer company, BP scholarship. So you got different types of scholarships for different types of groups or different types of things. Look at the NAACP scholarship. It doesn't say you have to be a person of color. It says as long as your commitment towards public policy and community service. Anyone know who Sean Carter is? Nipa, don't answer. Any answers for Sean Carter? Nipa, do we know if any of the students typed that in the chat?
Who is that?
Yeah, they're like, who's that guy? It's Jay-Z, guys, come on. Jay-Z, the hip hop superstar, or maybe better known as Beyonce's husband, is Sean Carter. So I'm just goofing around because, you know, when I was in high school, Jay-Z was like Travis Scott was like a few years ago. And he's just, so the fact that he's grown to have this foundation and having these types of, you know, opportunities to give back, you know, we wanted to make sure that, you know, scholarships come from many, many different types of people in many different types of industries. And if you look at someone, hilarious, people have got jokes about Jay-Z, like, who is this old guy? So it's, you know, they're really trying to work to get different types of kids into different types of industries. John Starks Foundation, he is an old school Knick player, New York Knicks. And, you know, the scholarships are targeted, you know, there's different types of scholarships. So Nipa, just wanted to let everyone know, because these slide decks are still in construction for our permanent videos later, we're not, I told everyone in the beginning of the presentation that we're not able to share the slide deck content, but we will do our best to get an FAQ for the most common questions, and then be sure to get that out there. And this is being video recorded, so anytime you want to catch up on it, when it's published, we will let you guys know, all of you guys and gals. You guys go back and fast forward and rewind. Sorry, you'll have to listen to it again, as opposed to looking for the information, but that's until we can finalize this and release it to, you know, our future programs. Let me just go back to the scholarship slides quickly. Coca-Cola, AXA, FSCNY, NES. Again, these are all different types of scholarships. Folks, if you want to take your phones out now and take a few pictures of the scholarship lists, please do. I'll give you a 5-second countdown to reach for your phone. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Three, 2, 1. Please take your phone and take screenshots of this if you need. These are all easy to Google later and look them up. This is probably a good one to have. It's a comprehensive one. And I think I've reached the end of the slide deck. It is 3:27. We were able to successfully get this conversation out within less than an hour. It's a lot of information. So I'm going to use this time. We have about 15 minutes. We'll go over a little bit and ask you all to come up with some questions. And you can have the questions privately to me or to everyone. To hear that feedback, thank you so much. Next week's topic will be the personal statement. That's a cause of anxiety and concern for a lot of students, but it's also one of the best opportunities. You have a clean slate. No one's personal statements more advanced than anyone else's. Every single one of us have a fantastic opportunity to make our personal statements stellar. So that's what we're going to cover next Saturday at 3:30.